Welcome to Ecos Del Tiempo TV, a sanctuary where we gather to discuss the most profound, often unspoken cycles of our existence. Today, we are stepping into a very tender, almost sacred space, one that requires our utmost compassion, stillness, and presence. We are talking about the final season of life. Understanding the transition toward the end of an elderly person's journey isn't about fostering fear or dwelling on sadness. It's about preparing our hearts to offer profound love, dignity, and peace to those we cherish as they prepare to depart. Stay with me until the very end of this video, because we will be uncovering a specific phenomenon known as the surge of clarity. It is perhaps the most beautiful, yet bittersweet gift a family can receive. Embracing it can fundamentally change your perspective on saying goodbye. It is the moment where the soul gives its final radiant bow. Life is like the seasons of a great oak tree. We celebrate the budding green of spring and the vibrant shade of summer. But there is a quiet, stoic beauty in the autumn when the leaves begin to turn gold and red. This reminds me of a news story about a remote village in Japan. They don't have a harsh word for dying. Instead, they call it the quieting of the spirit. One resident mentioned, they don't look for sickness or pain in their elders. They look for the moment when a soul begins its gentle, intentional withdrawal from the noise of the world. It taught me that nature has its own rhythm of retreat, and if we listen closely enough with our hearts rather than our ears, we can hear the music of the fading tide. Often, in our modern world, we are so focused on medical charts and prescriptions that we completely miss the subtle, non-medical warnings that a soul is preparing for its next journey. These signs are like autumn leaves. They don't all fall in a single violent storm. They drift down slowly, one by one, signaling a change in the internal climate. Recognizing these signs allows us to stop being just caregivers or managers of a medical condition and start being true companions, walking alongside our loved ones with a steady hand and a peaceful, non-judgmental heart. The final year is often a period of life review, even if it isn't spoken aloud. It is a time when the external world begins to lose its color and intensity. In its place, the internal world of memory and spirit becomes more vibrant, more real than the present moment. This transition can be confusing for families, but it is a natural part of the human experience. As we dive into these 5 signs, remember that our purpose here is to simplify these heavy questions. We want to make the path feel a little lighter for you, the family, and a little more dignified for them, the traveler. When we understand the why behind the what, we move from a place of panic to a place of profound presence. The first subtle warning of the final year is a deep, soulful fatigue that no amount of sleep or rest can truly mend. It's a gradual, persistent ebbing of the physical tide, not ordinary tiredness after a long walk or busy afternoon. You might notice your loved ones sleeping more and more, conserving energy for the profound internal journey they are undertaking. The physical vessel is preparing to let go, slowly quieting the engines of daily life. This transition reminds us of the natural, graceful slowing down of the body. Acknowledging this is important for our mental and spiritual peace. Just as we nourish our bodies, we must respect its decision to begin its long rest when its earthly work is complete. The body's wisdom knows when it's time to close the shop. Our role is to honor that process, not fight it with panic. I recall a film scene, an elderly grandfather in his sunlit workshop, surrounded by antique clocks. He slowly stopped winding them, one by one. His young grandson, confused, asked why he let the clock stop. The old man smiled with serene understanding. He said, "I'm no longer racing with time, my boy. I'm learning to sit within it." This was a powerful metaphor for that stage of life where the external ticking of the world begins to fade in importance, compared to the internal peace a person is seeking. In this stage, physical needs begin to simplify. You will notice a marked decrease in appetite. Food becomes less of a necessity and more of a sensory memory. They might take only a few tiny bites of their favorite dish, or prefer only cool, clear liquids. They are not starving. Rather, their biology is shifting. When the body no longer needs to build new cells or maintain high activity, it naturally stops asking for fuel. This is also where we see a shift in presence. You might notice that while they are physically in the room with you, their eyes seem to be focused on something just beyond the horizon. They are beginning to detach, not out of a lack of love for you, but because they are being called to focus on a different frequency. As companions, we must learn to sit in that sacred silence with them, offering comfort without demanding they wake up or be active. Our presence in their fatigue is a silent message that says, it is okay to rest. You are safe. As we journey further into this sacred terrain, we encounter the third sign, the quiet retreat. This is not merely a preference for silence. It is a profound social and emotional withdrawal that transcends physical tiredness. It is as if the person is slowly untying the invisible threads that bind them to the bustling activities of this world. You may notice they stop following news they once debated, or lose interest in neighborhood gossip they enjoyed over tea. Their world, which once spanned continents, decades, and countless social circles, begins to shrink, until it encompasses only the room they are in, the window they look through, and perhaps just one or two trusted faces. This retreat is not a sign of clinical depression, nor a lack of love for those they are leaving behind. It is a necessary stage of packing the emotional bags for a journey only they can take. I remember a viewer shared a story with me last month that touched my heart deeply. Her father, a man who was the life of every party and a respected leader, suddenly preferred sitting by his garden window, simply watching the birds. She was terrified, thinking he had given up on life or was sinking into despair. But one afternoon, he took her hand, squeezed it gently, and said, "I'm not sad, my dear. I'm just finished with the noise. I'm finally enjoying the silence I never had time for during the busy years." It was a powerful reminder that for the elderly, silence isn't empty. It is full of echoes of a lifetime of experiences. If this speaks to your heart today, if you're feeling the heavy weight of a loved one's withdrawal, I invite you to pause. Take a long, deep, and intentional breath. Whisper one kind, forgiving thing to yourself. You are doing your best in a season that has no map, and your presence in that shared silence is the greatest gift. This retreat is often accompanied by what is known as visioning. You might find your loved one talking to people who passed away decades ago, their parents, a long-lost sibling, or a spouse. To our logical minds, this looks like confusion, dementia, or a hallucination. But from their perspective, the veil between the past and the present is becoming very thin. They are being revisited by memories so vivid that they become their current reality. In these moments, our role as companions is not to correct them or pull them back to our version of truth. If they are talking to their mother, don't say, "Mom has been gone for 20 years. Instead, ask gently, "What is she saying to you? Does she look happy?" By entering their world, we provide a bridge of safety instead of a wall of cold logic. This stage is also a period of deep internal life review. While they may seem quiet on the outside, their mind is often busy processing regrets, triumphs, loves, and losses. Or wanting to express a specific gratitude they never voiced. It is a sacred process of making peace with the self. As we discussed in our previous video about narcissistic manipulation tactics, we learned the importance of protecting our peace. In this final year of a loved one's life, your mission is the same, to protect the peace of their environment. By guarding the sanctuary of their quietude, you allow them to finish their life review with the dignity they deserve. The fourth sign is a remarkable, yet often overlooked, shift in how an elderly person communicates. As the physical body weakens and the connection to the material world thins, the mind often begins to speak in symbols, metaphors, and poetic imagery. They may not explicitly say, I feel my time is near. Instead, they might say something that sounds like confusion to a logical ear, such as, I need to find my shoes. Has the train arrived yet? Or, I want to go home, even while they are sitting comfortably in their own living room of 40 years. These are not merely the random words of a wandering mind. They are the soul's unique way of expressing a journey it is preparing to undertake, a journey for which it has no literal map. I recently watched a profoundly moving documentary that featured a hospice nurse who had spent over 30 years at the bedside of thousands of departing souls. She explained that almost every patient, regardless of their cultural background, religion, or language, eventually begins to use travel metaphors. One man she cared for kept asking his daughter if his ticket was ready. Another woman insisted that her family help her pack her suitcase because the carriage was already waiting outside in the driveway. These spontaneous references to travel remind us that even when the body is failing, the human spirit remains active, trying to make sense of its transition in the only way it knows, how through the language of movement and departure. It is as if the mind is searching for a dialect to describe a destination. It can sense, but cannot yet see. We must learn to speak this new, delicate language of the heart. When a loved one says they want to go home, they are rarely talking about a physical building or a specific address. More often, they are expressing a deep spiritual need for peace, safety, and a sense of ultimate belonging. Instead of arguing with them or trying to correct their reality by pointing out they are already in their house, we can choose a path of greater compassion. We can say, I am right here with you. You are safe. We will find the way together. This response immediately reduces their anxiety and replaces it with a profound sense of trust. By validating their metaphorical reality, we tell them that we hear them, we believe them, and we are not afraid of where their mind is going. In this stage, physical touch often becomes far more powerful and communicative than any spoken word. As the ability to process complex sentences fades, the language of the skin, a hand held gently, a forehead stroked, or simply the warmth of your palm resting on theirs, tells them everything they need to know. It tells them they are not alone. It tells them they are loved. It tells them it is safe to let go. This stage also requires us to reflect deeply on our own role as guardians of their peace. Just as we discussed in our previous conversation about the subtle tactics of narcissistic manipulation, we learned that protecting our inner peace is a vital act of self-preservation. In this final year of a loved one's life, your mission is very similar. You are the architect of a peaceful environment. Just as you learned to spot the silent tactics of those who sought to disrupt your heart, you must now spot the silent needs of your loved one to protect their transition. By creating a sanctuary free of loud noises, family conflicts, or unnecessary medical franticness, you allow their metaphorical journey to be one of tranquility rather than distress. You become the lighthouse that guides them through the mist. As we reach the final sign, we encounter a phenomenon as mysterious as it is beautiful. It's often called the surge of energy, or terminal lucidity. Imagine a person sleeping for days, barely able to speak or recognize their surroundings, suddenly waking with eyes clear as a spring morning, asking for their favorite meal, recognizing every family member, holding a lucid, meaningful conversation for hours. To many families, this feels like a miracle, a sign their loved one is recovering. But it's often the soul's final radiant flare, a last surge before the candle flickers out, a sacred window of time given to us to say the things that matter most. This reminds me of a personal reflection while walking through an ancient forest in late autumn. Just before winter dormancy, leaves turn the most brilliant, vibrant oranges and reds, as if nature gives one last, spectacular show of beauty before the long rest begins. Humans often do the same. This surge is a gift, the final chance to say, I love you, I forgive you, or thank you. Recognizing it allows us to cherish that moment without crushing disappointment when energy fades. Understanding these 5 signs acts as a roadmap for the heart. It transforms our experience from panicked medical intervention to peaceful companionship. We move from trying to save them to simply honoring them. Reaching the end of life's journey with dignity is the final triumph of a human soul. Being the person who guards that dignity is one of the highest honors you will ever hold. As we close this conversation, I want you to remember that your grief and your love are two sides of the same coin. You are carrying a heavy burden, but you do not have to carry it with a sense of failure. Death is not a medical failure. It is a natural conclusion. By staying present, by listening to their metaphors, and by sitting in their silence, you are providing a sanctuary of peace that few people ever receive. You are helping them walk home. I would be so deeply honored to know where you are joining us from today. Please share the name of your city or country in the comments below. Here at Ecos Del Tiempo TV, our only purpose is to simplify life's heaviest and most complicated questions without any judgment. Please feel free to share your thoughts, your personal struggles, or your own experiences in the comments. Your words often inspire our next conversation and remind us all that we are walking this path together. Until we meet again in the next video, may you find serenity in the echoes of time.